We can listen Dr. Amélie Vialet, who is going to speak about Turkey and the surroundings in this perspective of the Out of Africa movement.
Exactly, yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm very grateful to Professor Yves Coppens for all his support, always. And I thank the Pontifical Academy of Science for invitation. Thank you very much. That's a great opportunity for me to be there. I would like to give you some details about our research program in Turkey on behalf of our team with several anthropologists such as Sandrine Pratt, who is in the audience, or Dominique Grimaud-Hervé. And a Turkish team, above all, for doing a fieldwork prospection with young Turkish colleagues, and with the one which is in the middle at the bottom, who is Professor Mehmet Cihat Alçiçek, that a lot of people here knows. He is the discoverer of the only one Homo erectus known in Turkey. So I will give you now details. Turkey, of course, is at the crossroads of Africa, Asia, Europe, so we can expect wonderful discoveries, and we can expect maybe early Homo discoveries. As we said previously, that the first representative of the genus Homo are only known in Africa from 2.8 million years. But actually, very few is known for all this country, all this area, Turkey and surroundings. Of course, we know the first, or the oldest one, which is outside Africa, which are the Dmanisi fossils, which are a kind of a group of numerous individuals with sexual dimorphism, great variability, but mostly this is a metric variability than a morphological one, and we are at 1 point, let's say, 8 million years. For the mainland Asia and Southeast Asia, we know evidences in Sangiran or in China as old as 1.5, 1.6 million years. Of course, if you are dealing with the lithic assemblages, you can go further and evidence an older presence, maybe older than 2.5 million years. In Western Europe, this is in the Mediterranean area in south of in Spain and south of Spain. We have some evidence from the Atapuerca sites, the Cima del Elefante at 1.2 million years, and in the basin of Orsay, the Orsay basin, at 1.4 million years. So we are well within the hominins known outside Africa. In Turkey, so Professor Mehmet Cihat Alçiçek made an interesting discovery more than 15 years ago in a specific context, which is a quarry, a huge quarry in the southwest of Turkey, of such deposits which are made by travertine deposits. You may have a look on the picture at the still alive or still active travertines, which are the Pamukkale site, which is a site preserved by UNESCO. So in such context, you can find only fossils which are cut by the blades of the machine, which are cutting all these huge deposit. So that was the case for this hominin skull that you can see on the picture, that we have only a slice of skull. Unfortunately, because it might have been complete one, but it remains only 3 fragments. But in the same deposits called the Upper Travertine deposit, we have a lot of fossils which can evidence the high biodiversity in such area, with a lot of crabs, some leaves, eggs, turtle or big mammals. Stone, we have few, but we have some stones too. Of course, it is uneasy, it's not easy at all to study such fossils because everything is cut and we are working only on a bone slice. So about the chronological framework, we have done a lot of studies, and we have a multi-proxy approach to get the most confident datings. So the stratigraphy consists of this upper travertines, and this is important to note that fossils are coming only from this upper level, which could be as high as 50 meters. And you can see below this deposit, a conglomerate deposit, and above you have a same fluvial or conglomerate level. So we have done cosmogenic nuclides on the conglomerate deposits, on the pebbles from the conglomerate. That means below and above the upper travertine level, which yielded datings at 1.1 at the top and 1.6 at the bottom. It fits well with paleomagnetism, which was done in all the sequence, and maybe at the top we may identify the Cobb Mountain excursion event, so at 1.22. And above all, it fits well with the biochronology, that means the state of evolution of the fauna, which comes from this upper travertine. You may have a look at the fauna with Archidiscodon in the picture, or Paleotragus too. But just let's see in details. For the Equus, for example, the dental morphology, the proportions of the metapods correspond to Equus altidens, or maybe Mygdoniensis. The study was done by Nicolas Bulbe and Anne-Marie Moigne from our team. So it is surely older than 0.7 million years. Then using this Paleotragus, which size and shape of the ossicone, for example, fits well with such a species, which is not anymore known in this area after 1.2 million years. So we should be something older. And then the Archidiscodon meridionalis, which is very similar to the Valdarno series, that means the type specimen of the Meridionalis meridionalis, which is dated to 1.4 million years. So together, all these proxies from nuclide cosmogenic, from paleomagnetism, and from biochronology can enable us to bracket the fossil between 1.2 and 1.6 million years. Of course, it is a large interval, but it enables us to settle this fossil within the oldest fossils. So in Africa, as we said, but above all, outside Africa with the Dmanisi at 1.8, or Asia from 1.6, and Europe 1.4. So the question at the moment was, because this fossil is at the crossroad of Africa and Asia, was it closer to the African specimens or closer to the Asian fossils? So first of all, because the fossil consists of these 3 fragments, we have done a 3D reconstruction. So as you can see, the fragments are isolated ones because it is a young adult individual. We have, for example, the frontal synesis, which are well developed, but as you can see in the picture, the suture are not totally fused. So that is why maybe the frontal bone, for example, in the right part is separated from the parietal fragment, and both parietals are separated. That's why we have done 3D reconstruction, putting together the fragments in anatomical connection. So first of all, the 2 parietals, using the sagittal suture, and using as a control the 2 planes made by the blades of the machine, which have cut the skull. So we know that we have to be in such a volume limited by the blades stigmats. Then, using the right part of the frontal bone, by mirror imaging techniques, we have done the left part. So we have an anterior skull which is more complete. And we had just to put together the posterior and anterior part, that means the frontal and parietal parts, to reconstruct this fossil. We did not fill the missing parts because such parts are missing. So we stopped here with the reconstruction, but we benefit with a more complete specimen. So we can carry some anthropological study. Of course, we are very limited in the measurements, but we have some. Enough to say that the Kocabaş fossil, which is in the middle, the Turkish one, is intermediate, for example, for this maximal frontal width between the African Homo erectus and the Asian Homo erectus, well distinct from the Dmanisi fossils, for example, and closer to the African fossils. It's quite the same for the width of the supratoral, the supraorbital torus, with a difference with well distinct from the OH9, of course, which is a very well developed supraorbital torus. In such analysis, just to show you that it fits well with the, generally speaking, Homo erectus, and very distinct from the small size fossils such as the first Homo or Dmanisi, and very different from the mid-Pleistocene and Neanderthals, which are larger brain fossil. And mostly it fits well with the African Homo erectus for all these measurements based on the frontal bone. For the endocranial measurements done by Dominique Grimaud-Hervé, we have quite the same with the Kocabaş fossil, the Turkish one, which is intermediate between the first Homo, the Homo ergaster, and the Asian Homo erectus. Then we have done with Sandrine Prat a cladistic analysis, which is in our opinion, maybe the most powerful to think about phylogeny. And it was clear at that time that two clades appear, very different clades between the Asian fossil on the right and the African ones on the left, with the Dmanisi, which is closer to the Asian fossils, Asian Homo erectus, and the Kojabash, who is closer to the African ones. And interestingly, its closeness is the most similarities are with the 1 million year Homo erectus from Africa, such as Bodo or Bouya, for example. So this is interesting because it suggests that we have different evolutionary history, at least between the Asian fossils with Dmanisi, and including Dmanisi, and the African ones, including Kojabash, which is in Turkey, outside Africa, but with a strong link with the 1 million year Homo erectus from Africa. So we may conclude at that point that, or we may suggest that we have a first out of Africa, which is around 2 million years or earlier, maybe earlier, which is from Africa towards Southeast Asia, passing through China, and a second event, another event of expansion from Africa towards maybe Europe, but it is a very speculative idea, but maybe towards Europe, and other event of expansion outside Africa, at least at 1.5 million years. And let's follow our host and our master, Professor Yves Coppens, who wrote in this concept note of our workshop today that the expected multiplicity of Homo's movements from Africa to Eurasia, maybe Turkey, and back. What about thinking to go back to Africa? Maybe between the Dmanisi fossils and the 1 million year Homo erectus, African Homo erectus, or maybe between the Kojabash and such 1 million year African Homo erectus. So this is speculation. Of course, we need to evidence such a scenario, but it is not so common to think to go back to Africa. It is mostly, it's more common to think just about expansion from Africa towards Asia and Europe. So, as you understood, the Turkish fossils, the Kojabash fossil, is closer to the 1 million year African Homo erectus, which are, such as Dhaka, for example, or Bouya, which are associated with the Acheulean context, because Yves Coppens invited us to link paleoanthropology and cultural or technical behaviors. Maybe we can have a look at this point. The question is the Turkish fossil, the Kojabash fossil, is it settled in an Acheulean context, or is it still in an Oldowayan context? Because, as you know, this is a key period around 1 million year, just 1.51 million year. It is a key period for such a shift between the cultural technical behaviors between Oldowayan and Acheulean context. So we have very few evidence to answer The red stars are mostly anthropological sites. You have Kocabaş, which is in southwest of Turkey. Just a little bit more in the southwest, you have the Gediz basin, which yielded only one flake, isolated flake, well dated at 1.2, but only one isolated flake. So, of course, it is not enough. The Dmanisi site in Georgia and in Syria, all the series sequences from El Qom, which are well settled in the Acheulean ambience. And for a younger age, we have only 2 sites. I mean, very well controlled, stratigraphically speaking and chronologically speaking, sites. Because, of course, we have a lot of evidences of Acheulean material in Turkey, but they're coming from prospection, surface prospection. So this is something different. So for the well-controlled site, we have only the Dursunlu and Kaletepe Deresi 3 sites, which are between 1 million and and half million years, with the Kaletepe Deresi site, which yielded a very nice andaxes made on obsidian. So as you can see, very few evidence to discuss about the technical behavior of the Kocabaş man. And as I told you, in this scheme, you may have a look at the transitional period of, or the critical period between 1.6, 1.2 million years, which have seen the Oldowayan and the Acheulean context. And maybe the best evidence, I mean closer to Turkey, to the Kocabaş fossil, is from El Qom series that you may have a look of the stratigraphy on the right of this table, which is a very high stratigraphy, but which starts as at least as 1.2 million years with a very well Acheulean characteristics. Okay, so just around, let's have a look of new publications about this peninsula, the Taman Peninsula. Maybe you know about it, and the Kozarnica sites, which are not always well dated, but which are very close to this Turkey area, and may yield in the future some interesting elements of comparisons. We have done surface prospections in Turkey, in the high terraces, which are around 1 million, 1.5 million years. We found, of course, lithic industry, about 40 industries last campaign, but of course it is it's very few, so we have to continue to work in order to answer to this question. So to conclude, the Kocabaş fossil is a very modest contribution, above all in this meeting where we have seen wonderful discoveries, but the interest is that it is the only one known in Turkey. So it is a fragmentary skull, but we try to do our best to study it. Cladistically, it is very important, it is distinct from the Dmanisi group, which can evidence different evolutionary history, and maybe an expansion wave from Africa towards Europe, or following Professor Yves Coppens, maybe going back Africa. We have to try to get it stronger in the near future. We know very well it's a biotope because we have done a lot of studies, including big mammals, which are associated to the fossil, as you have seen, but also, for example, ostracods. So we know that we had an area of active travertine, but very close to a lake, lake shore, not so deep, shallow lake, and more deeper one. So this is an ongoing study, but we know we have a lot of evidence to know the biotope of these fossils, but we have to improve our chronological knowledge. That means that the interval that we get between 1.2 and 1.6 is of course too large. As you can see in this very simple figure on your right, we are through this time period with a lot of climatic variations. So of course it is not the same if we are in a cold or in a warm period. So we will need to improve this, and we are working on that now in order to better settle this fossil in human evolution and to know better its contribution. So I thank you very much for your attention, and of course I thank all the support for this research program. Thank you.